I would like to call to order the Kaiser City Council in a work session. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Parsons.
Here.
Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Councilor Cross.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Starr.
Here.
Councilor Christopher. Councilor Duran.
Here.
Thank you very much. So we're going to take a couple of items tonight for the City Council, and this is the review, purpose, need, objectives of our boards, committees, and commissions. And then we'll review the proclamation list. We do have some changes on the proclamation list that were recommended by the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. And I don't know if that's been forwarded to you all or not, but we'll, say again? We should, that I don't know. So we'll go over that when we get to that agenda item. But let's go over with the committees. And I believe, Mr. Brown, you've got some decision points for us.
We went old school today, paper, but hopefully we'll just simplify, try to narrow it down to decision points for you. And since we're going to get a lot of live life, so I will put this on all of them. So, if we go through any of these and you want to park it, say, let's wait till that's one. This, for instance, this one's the CDEC. You could park that till the end, but most of these, your responsibility annually is to look at the committees and say, yep, we're still good with it. We're still good with their purpose. We say it's a CDEC mission and purpose till the end because that's the second or third part of our thing is everybody else. So the first question was, does the council want to continue to appoint CDEC members? That was how it was set up originally, and there was, I believe, some discussion with the volunteer coordinating committee. They said that they didn't want that. So first point is, would you like to continue to appoint the VCC or the CDEC?
Would anybody else like to park it till our conversation with the CDEC, please?
Yes, please.
Anybody object to that?
No. Let's park it.
Oh, you're good with saying yes? You want to continue to appoint them as we've been doing it, or as is in the new council rules? There's two versions now. There's ones that's in our current, the committee description, and then in our rules, it says it's going to be a political appointment like the volunteer coordinating committee. No.
No, they went 3 years.
No, the way it was originally done, so let's make this easy. So the original was to appoint 9 members, 2 of them being city council members that were voting, and then a youth member under the age of 19, and the 6 citizen at-large members. And the appointed members would be, they were appointed, and then at the time of appointment had a 3-year term. Once their term was expired, then whoever was in that council position at that time would then appoint for somebody for the next 3-year term. The change that was put into the council rules of procedure was to make it clean slate every 2 years, for the city, for the councilors to appoint people at that time for 2-year terms. So you could have potentially a turnover of the entire committee every 2 years.
But the question is, do we want to continue to appoint? So that's the question.
Okay.
And I'll have those other decision points later here
Okay.
in the slide deck.
All right. So we're looking for if people want to, yes, no, park it for conversation with the CDEC members. I'm a park it.
I'm going to park it.
Okay.
I mean, we're not supposed to vote, but So there's a,
What we're doing tonight is discussion, come to a consensus. Anything you decide, we'll have to bring back.
and for the record, that was not consensus.
Okay.
Because there were those of us who like to park it. And since we will be having a conversation with the CDC who are here, we can also hear more at that time.
Okay. Okay, so next one is, should the terms of the council appointees align with the council positions? So that's for Community Diversity Engagement Committee and Volunteer Coordinating Committee.
And just to clarify, if I can, nothing says that you can't reappoint your person if they align with the council in the every 2-year terms, correct?
Yes, that's right, every 2-year terms.
So the majority of council, but not consensus, that that's the direction that if we were to come back on a resolution, that's how it would read.
Okay, so starting through the committees, on your desk I put a copy with the mission statement of each committee or purpose used synonymously. So, Volunteer Coordinating Committee, it has one non-voting liaison. And so, first question, are you okay with that? That's kind of the direction we sought, that we've been picking up on during the council discussions.
So that is the current condition for current mission and status for the liaison, is that we have one non-voting liaison from council. So we're okay with, everybody okay leaving things as they are. And then on this list, we have a statement of the committee purpose. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I ask clarification for, I believe it's probably about the second statement in the committee purpose where it says, the committee also organizes an annual volunteer award ceremony to recognize the contributions of the citizens of our community. So when I read that, I have a certain perception of what an award ceremony would be. I do not believe that we have had what I would consider to be an award ceremony. Is this the annual recognition of the committees?
I think so, the cookie.
Cookie thing.
Okay.
That's written weird.
Well, and it used to be, we used to try to have volunteer award nights, and the turnout was declining. These are very busy people. And so several years ago, the change was made to have the volunteer coordinating committee members each pick a committee to go to do the cookies and recognition and so forth, which has been well received by the committee members. It also doesn't mean another night for an event. So if we want to ask for a rewrite, so organizes annual volunteer award, annual volunteer recognition.
Of the contributions of the citizens of our community.
Annual volunteer recognition of, good catch. Which is something we have to correct on our proclamations, to update that as well. Okay.
Okay, so with the non-voting liaison, everybody good with that?
Yep, keep that the way it is.
And then the mission statement as amended?
So update with that. We all enjoy a good party, but this one just really changed over time. That's true. Feed them and they will come.
Okay, Public Art Commission. Right now, there is a voting member on the Public Art Commission. And like I said, we've been kind of hearing that you wanted some consistency. So first question is, would you like to change that non-vote, or that voting position to a non-voting liaison?
Is there anybody who objects to change to a non-voting liaison? So we call it, non-voting and liaison rather than position.
Yeah, liaison is.
Yeah. Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Wouldn't that make it consistent with the other committees?
It would, and it would also open up the opportunity for another community member to be on the committee.
Thank you.
Yep. You know, when years ago, it made sense when it was first established to have a counselor on there, but we have now evolved. Okay.
And are we okay with the mission on that committee?
Okay. Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a clarification on the mission for the public arts, and it's more just a consistency question. It states that the commission meets every other month on the third Tuesday at 6 p.m. in council chambers, beginning in January of each year. So there's just a section that doesn't, the meeting in council chambers beginning in January of each year. Is that different than the other committees, or is it just kind of a straggler statement, or?
Well, are you getting at the, why does that belong in the mission statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good comment. It should
thank
just
you.
move down on the page to the mechanics of it.
I think the same thing could be said of the Volunteer Coordinating Committee. Go ahead and take that out of the mission statement and bump that to the mechanics of it as well. Well, it says second Thursday of the month, and we don't want to have to revisit it because it does get rescheduled based on the committee needs.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll simplify that. There goes that pen.
That's from the website.
I have cough drops, I think.
Returning the favor after last week.
So-
Counselor Kohler,
Table by.
stand by. All right. I'm going to go Counselor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I remember right, the purpose of the Arts Commission and them approving different things that are put up, it puts any controversy on that committee about what art is displayed rather than on the council. Is that correct?
In part. So it also allows for us to have a group of individuals who have an eye for art. I would not be one of them, to help us make decisions for a well-curated collection.
It requires that.
Microphone, please.
It requires that at least two are artists and have a background in art. So we've got at least two, but we have more than that. We have 4 right now of the 7.
Follow up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, because I remember there were some cows put
Oh, do you?
out in the roundabout, and
Really?
some people came to us as city councilors and wanted us to change it, which we said that's a decision that the Arts Commission makes, not us. Is that?
That is accurate. That's the firewall, so that you don't have to be in the line of fire for choosing art, because art is controversial.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's Rhonda. Right, Rhonda?
And Melissa just let me know too, I pulled those from our website, but in the resolutions, the times of the meetings are not in the mission.
Perfect. Okay.
So, but we'll correct that on our website.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving along. Okay, Budget Committee. This is mostly statutorily set, so I don't see much change, but to check the box, everybody okay with how it is?
Okay.
Okay.
Remain in compliance with state law. Anybody object? Gotcha.
It's supposed to give us endorphins every time we can check a box. Helps the brain. Good. Okay, and then, of course, the Long Range Planning Task Force is a Kaiser creation, and it is the same composition of the Budget Committee with a little bit different purpose of the budget. Do we have any changes to be made there?
It's been very useful for keeping people up to date on what the long range is on our financials. So I appreciate that. Okay, Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Didn't we decide that we were going to meet in an interim and not just once a year? Do we want to add that into the mission?
Or the mechanics, yeah,
One of the two?
yeah, you did make that decision, and we met in, November?
I think so, yeah.
So that would probably make sense in the mechanics then, because this was something, and it really can be as needed.
Yeah.
So this was something that we decided would be a benefit for us. And when we're doing our planning for work sessions, town halls, et cetera, that's where that's going to come into play as we look at our work sessions and which ones are going to get scheduled out. We only have so many in the year. Okay,
All right.
audit.
Going on to the Audit Committee. Right now, it's made up of 4 counselors and 2
Three.
Budget Committee members.
3.
3 counselors?
Please tell me it's 3. Mr. Wood? Counselors. 3 counselors. Breathing.
Ah,
Okay. I mean, it's a public meeting. Anybody can sit in on it, but we have 0.3. Okay.
Okay.
And then 2 Budget Committee.
Any desire to change that?
Okay. This is also largely statutory, correct? Ish, Mr. Wood?
Actually, there is no requirement to have an audit committee, although it is best practice.
Okay, we'll go with best practices. Okay. Any questions on the audit committee? Okay. Emergency planning.
Okay, this is maybe the one exception that I would recommend.
Can we back up just a minute? I saw that question on your face, and I just saw it. Our audit committee has a reference to an urban renewal agency. We don't have one. Are we leaving it on there just in case someday we do that? Or should we take it off since we don't have one?
Odd alignment.
Pardon?
It seems odd to do one and the same.
Well, when we used to have an urban renewal agency, we would do the audit on the one and then the other in that meeting, but they are 2 separate budgets. But we would do the audits at that point, but we haven't had an urban renewal agency for several years. So
I think we scrap it.
is there a recommendation on whether we should keep that on the description of the audit committee? I'm looking to Mr. Brown and Mr. Wood for advice.
And Joe.
Well, I mean, if you do end up having one in the future, then it's built in.
Okay. There's no harm, no foul?
That's would be my first thought, but it's not something I would die over.
Okay. It doesn't hurt anything to have it in there.
My opinion, Madam Mayor, is
Huh?
that it does not hurt, but at the same time, it isn't, I guess, reflective of how the city is right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could always put it back in, too.
Yeah. I'm getting a sense from folks of taking it out since it doesn't reflect our reality, hasn't for a number of years. So we'll take out the reference to the Urban Renewal Agency. Council President Starr?
Thank you. And when we're ready, I have some questions on the 5 points underneath the audit committee.
Now's the time.
So first of all, number 2, I don't know that we've ever met with, I've served on the audit committee and I haven't met with, have I met with the auditor? In advance? I don't remember that.
I don't think that we've done that, at least in the 15 years since I've been here, so.
Thank you.
Not that I remember.
I was a little worried that I was.
I mean, maybe an update?
Yeah,
So can we maybe look at that if we want to keep that in, or if we're supposed to be meeting with the auditor, can we start?
Definitely. I think the auditors would actually appreciate meeting in advance.
Great. I would love to meet with them. That'd be if we're supposed to.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
yeah, I think that's a good practice. I know I always met with them as they started the audit committee in another city, Oregon City I worked in, and the audit committee members met with them one-on-one, and they would typically say, is there any fund or place you'd like us to look at? So it gives you an opportunity one-on-one with the auditors to say, I think you need to look at this or that.
Okay. Follow up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And then on number 1, should we be assuring, I guess for purposes of reading, assuring itself that the auditor selected is both independent and competent or qualified?
Ooh, qualified.
Because they two very different. And I don't know that I'm qualified to judge competency.
Lindsay?
I would think the word qualified would better match what you guys would be doing.
That would be what I would agree. Thank you.
Word change. Okay.
Okay, move on?
I'm done.
Yeah, good questions.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now emergency planning.
Yep, now emergency planning. So this is the one I said I'd recommend in an exception because it is common practice or best practice to have somebody from the governing body on. This is a wide array of people in organizations that help us implement or approve, recommend changes to the emergency operations plan to the council. So,
External committee.
yeah. So the one counselor on there, Counselor Starr there, is among, I think there's probably like 11 different people representing lots of different agencies there, and they make a recommendation to City Council for changes. And while we're talking about that, we actually, I think I got a copy of the contract from Marion County, so looks like we're getting close to the consultant being able to take a look at what we've done with it.
So my question is this convened by the city of Kaiser or convened by somebody else?
City Kaiser.
So it is internal, but because of the makeup of this particular committee, it makes sense for the counselor to be a voting member rather representing the people as essentially the council, and everybody else is representing different sectors. Is that how I understand it?
Yes, so for instance, Kaiser Fire District and Marion County Fire District 1 have a position on it. Also, Kaiser CERT has a position on it. It used to be EVAC, but then EVAC went away and Kaiser CERT stepped up, becoming organized. So each of those organizations, some of the staff, I believe, are on it. And then we probably have Marion County on there also. So, and Red Cross, I think. No, not Chariots, but yeah, it's a pretty broad group.
Okay. Okay,
Oh.
anybody, everybody okay with leaving it as it is? Counselor Christopher?
So to review and recommend changes to the city's emergency operations plan. So that,
Microphone.
that planning committee meets, they recommend changes to the city council?
Yes. Yep. So the last time it was updated was 2009. And Chief Teague did a pretty exhaustive and thorough editing of it. And it hadn't, and then of course he left for Dallas and then came back. And then it really hasn't been looked at since then. Now, I have gone through it, and Lana Bremer from our Public Works Department has helped. We've made a lot of internal updates, but Marion County has this grant that says they're going to provide professional consultants to help us update it. So we've been waiting on that for about a year and a half. So we're getting close to it.
I don't have
Counselor, follow up.
I don't have any, I mean, I can't think, I don't know why we would have a voting position when it comes to us anyway, and we'll all be voting on it, but I have no reason not to say, yeah, that's fine. It seems weird. It seems weird that we would have that when this committee, like, is this, it's not really, I'm still working this out in my head. So this is not necessarily a citizens advisory committee because these are all the agencies that, I guess that's the difference. That's the difference right there.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah, that helps work it out in your mind.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a bunch of
I had to work through.
agencies.
Okay. Okay, going on then to parks.
We're okay with that?
Yep. Yes, and
Okay, Parks already has just one non-voting liaison. So the question is that okay remaining as it is?
Yep.
Okay. And then the mission of that group?
okay, no hands up there, so let's flip to the back and Planning Commission.
Just getting shots of dopamine here again.
All right.
Over and over again. Okay. Planning Commission is exactly how the other ones are. Most of them are one non-voting liaison.
And then we'll take the meets on the second Wednesday of each month at 6 o'clock out of the mission and into the operation.
Yeah, we'll change that on the website.
Okay. So the commission consists of 7 members. Members of the commission serve 3-year terms. And it's in operations that the maximum of 3 consecutive 3-year terms. But that's not in this portion, is it? No. Because we just made that change?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. And then most of this is statutory, correct?
The function of it, yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, anything else? All right, hang in there down there. All right. Traffic safety bike ped.
Okay, same constructed as most of them are, one non-voting liaison.
Counselor Christopher.
So this has 10 duties of the committee. So is that supposed to be here in the mission? Or would that be in a different place? No other committee has that.
What's the resolution like on that one? Does it have?
If you look on page 27 of the packet on Appendix A, there are 9 under purpose.
I mean, it says
This is
powers
different.
and duties of the committee shall include. That, to me, sounds like, doesn't that sound like Appendix A?
Well, it is Appendix A, so on page, Ms. Bissett said if you look at page 27 of the packet, on Appendix A under purpose, and then when we combined traffic safety and bike ped many years ago, a lot of those duties were delineated and combined into one list, so it was clear that the purposes of both were going to be covered. I remember we wanted to make it a shorter name, and we were told that traffic safety needed to be in there for statutory purposes. So that's why that's in there.
So wouldn't it be sufficient just to have the short mission statement like the others do that says, in the creation, development, implementation of official traffic safety activities, including bikeways and pedestrian routes, and to make recommendations on projects and practices that improve safety, efficiencies, and choices for transportation mode options.
And then just
Doesn't that cover?
leave it
all of
there. Yeah, we could take that out of the mission statement of it and
Under the purpose portion, and then, because this is tasks that, I don't know if it's so much powers, but tasks and objectives are things that they've been doing, traffic safety programs, bike system, traffic safety priorities, the neighborhood traffic management program that has now been modernized. Question on number 4, does the Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee review and recommend project applications for funding such as Safe Routes to School and Connect Oregon? Because last time I don't know that they are the ones that make the recommendation, or if that comes from staff. Because if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
that comes out of our Transportation System Plan, our TSP, and then our Public Works Director has the prioritization from that and fills out all of the applications and submits that through SCATS. Am I missing something?
I'd have to ask. I know we did one since I've been here, and I don't recall. I'll follow up with Mr. Lawyer about that.
Although they do find grants and recommend that we look into it, because sometimes the members will find grants that would be really good for us to look at.
That's different than the actual advising on the application, though, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I agree.
Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Because Mr. Sangster had specific knowledge and expertise in that area prior to being a member of that committee, he was able to guide us in different ways, different grants that we might be able to apply for, and actually help put some of those together.
Oh, we did, that's true.
I think that's
Okay.
the extent of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm remembering some of the bike helmet and bike safety programming.
Well, and the safe routes to schools, and he did a lot of work with those.
Is there a better way to put that where, because I don't believe the committee reviews project applications, but they could recommend grants or something like that, but I don't know that we send that through the, when Connect Oregon existed, which it doesn't. So that specificity actually is out of date now as well.
That's a good.
So yeah, can we send this back to Traffic Safety Bike Ped for a conversation about an update and bring a recommendation back?
Sounds good.
Okay, and Council President Starr, that's
Well,
your committee?
That was, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. That was going to be my suggestion, because I think this would fall under the addendum A, like it does in others, right? These tasks. So they all need to be, I think, if they're not all on here that we're reviewing, then they all need to kind of be reviewed. But I want to ask a question about Kaiser. So the purpose, it says to act in an advisory capacity to the Kaiser City Council and City Manager. And there's not consistency in that statement throughout the different committees. So some have it just to the City Council, some have it to City Council and staff, some have it. So I would recommend looking at the verbiage in all of them, because, for example, Parks only says advisory capacity to the City Council. It doesn't say anything about staff or the city manager, whereas traffic safety says city manager.
It shouldn't. It should just be city
So,
council.
Yeah, and Public Arts Commission has
Yeah.
city council manager, and yeah, which be
so
consistent.
there needs to be some cleanup on,
Yeah, and they are all advisory to you,
Okay,
city council, so.
so we should clean that up.
Okay.
so that's Public Arts Commission and Traffic Safety Bike Ped.
Planning Commission says city council and staff.
It should just say city council.
Well, in this case, though, it's a little bit different, and I would look to Mr. Lindsay because of land use decisions. So they do assist staff in some of the land use, especially on the variances now. That is a different animal.
Correct. They, and what I'll do for this particular one is I'll go back and look at the state statute to make sure.
Okay.
But you're both correct, and that it's an advisory body because it advises to you guys, and that's their power. But they do, in our instance, make quasi judicial findings, and at the level that it doesn't make it to you unless it's an appeal.
So this, yeah, that is a different one. So, yeah, double check that the statutory language on planning commission, you have to bump it back one. So,
Sorry.
mission, update regarding statutory language. Because that was something new with the variances, and I think that's what I remember in particular. That was a change last year. Okay. Counselor Kohler?
Just for the record, I like old school.
Okay. All right. So we'll do the cleanup there. Cleanup on aisle A. Traffic safety bike ped will review the appendix A.
Okay, so,
Council President Starr.
thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to, again, just looking at consistencies on the Appendix A, because it's listed here under on the traffic safety, number 10 says provide an annual written or oral report of activities.
That's old. That's old.
It's right
Yeah.
here, so
So
just cleaning it up.
yeah, we got to clean up. This is from our website.
Right.
The other, it should, we'll have to make our resolutions match our website.
Right.
Right. Because if I remember correctly, and thank you, that's a good catch on here, that was something we did, if I remember correctly, we did delete. Well, I know it's on here, but it's not on here. It is. I'm looking, oh, there it is, numbered. Oh, it's oral report. Yeah. And that was, but this is oral reports after the meeting, so this is our committee reports versus number 10. The old number 10 was a written annual report. And that was something that I remember we did delete when we last went through it. So what's in the packet, the published packet is correct. It's the more current that I recall.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
So the last two are for CDEC. So we hope to come out of the meeting tonight with answers to these, as well as the first one. But right now, you have 2 voting council members on the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. And the question is, do you want to do it like the others and have just one non-voting liaison?
Yes.
I think we've been talking about changing it to one non-voting liaison. There's been a great deal of support of that in prior conversations. Is there anybody who would like to argue for keeping things as they are or some alternative to one non-voting liaison? I'm not hearing a rush with a whole lot of other
Yes.
suggestions on that.
Okay, so this is the last one. And this one, again, you could let it bleed over into the next meeting. But should there be 7 adult and 1 youth? Or right now you have 6 adult members and the mayor appoints the youth member, which is a voting position. So again, that's something that you could park it for the discussion or...
Can we park that to have a conversation with the CDEC members? Anybody object to having that conversation? Can we park it? Okay. I like that box. Yes, Councilor Christopher.
So we already said we were going to do 2 years, and every counselor appoints for that 2 years. So that would increase it from 6 to 7, which I think is a good thing. And on some committees, isn't the youth appointment, it's May? I think some of the committee resolutions, it says that it's a may rather than a
Right.
shall.
This is different.
Okay.
So, yeah, if we could park it, then bring everybody up to speed on why this one is there and why it is different. But it was a very intentional choice when this committee was created to have a voting youth member on this committee and to make sure that the youth voice had power to vote.
That one, yeah, and I agree, that one was constructed differently, so for a good discussion.
Yep.
Okay, well, that qualifies as you're checking the box on the reviewing your committees and purposes. Some good amendments.
I have one additional to simplify things, because there was a conversation about in the logistics for the committees, it said how membership would be done. And rather than in each one saying, the mayor will appoint, the council will appoint, blah, 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 can we change in the membership that members shall be appointed as per council rules?
Yeah.
Just make it all simple, so if the council rules get changed one way or the other, you all decide that you want to have, 5 members from ours, then it's automatically put in there, and you don't have to worry about going through and amending every single one of them. Okay. So that would change the membership logistics where it says, in any reference to how they'll be appointed, just they'll be appointed as per council rules and procedure. This would be for the council. Well, that's true, because we do approve the members that come through the volunteer coordinating committee as recommendations, and we approve the council liaisons voting or non-voting, and that's as per council rule.
Yeah,
So just
all consistent.
make it clean. Okay?
Makes our life.
Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was kind of reading through some of these things earlier and was trying to remember, there are some committees that require them to be members of the electorate rather than just people that live here. Is that spelled out anywhere?
If I remember correctly, in each of those that has a statutory requirement that is in the resolution for that committee, and I think mostly that refers to budget and to planning commission. And so under membership, it does have that statutory reference in there. I'm looking at Mr. Lindsay, who's also giving me a head nod.
Yes, and so, with your permission, perhaps we should say members shall be appointed as per council rules of procedure. If there are specific statutory requirements, those also control.
Right, so
Or something
according to
like
council rules of procedure and relevant statutory requirements. Something to that effect.
that. Okay, perfect.
You like that? Okay. Good call. Anything else? Relevant statutory. Okay,
And I only need to read this, so yeah.
okay.
As long as I can read it, Melissa.
If you can read it, you're good.
Okay, great.
Okay. So we have a list. Let me get mine out. Crap, where is it? There. It's in the packet, but I mean, we could make a copy because I think mine's easier to read. Plus, well, mine, I've already made notes all over it. So this is for the proclamations. And we have a list that was recommended by and approved by the city council in the past. So this is resolution 2021-3215. And then was it Thursday? Yep, thank you. The Community Diversity Engagement Committee had a really good conversation. Of this one? This has all my notes all over it. It's not original. I played with it. Do you want that one, the old one? Well, that's kind of, it's already outdated. Yeah. So, let me see. We've got if you look at page 36 of the packet, that kind of walks you down the list.
These are
Yes.
in addition to?
This is addition. So the ones we have right now that we talked through as a Community Diversity Engagement Committee are on page 36. Okay. Well, what we can do is engage them in the conversation because these recommendations actually came through the committee. So we could, this was the other thing you wanted to get done tonight, was this list. And we should be able to pop through it pretty quickly. Okay? So what I would like to do, though, is would everybody be okay if we adjourned, reconvened the work session, and did this together with the CDEC, since some of these changes were recommended through that meeting? Okay. So, good? Okay. So at this point, I would like to adjourn the City Council work session. And at 6:49, I would like to convene the joint work session of the Kaiser City Council and the Community Diversity Engagement Committee, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Member Brown?
She said your name, you say here.
Oh, I'm here.
Member Cross?
Here.
Member Picasso?
Here.
Member Tichenal?
Here.
And Member Coons?
Here.
Counselor Parsons?
Here.
Counselor Kohler?
Here.
Counselor Cross?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Starr?
Here.
Counselor Christopher? Counselor Duran?
Here.
All right, thank you very much. So last week, the Community Diversity Engagement Committee met. We went through the list of proclamations, and I also put together a list of the ones that were not on the original adopted list, but that are done annually, so we can get them all in one place. So there's a few that are not on here that I would like to recommend as we're talking it through, but I want to open up this conversation to include council and CDEC members to comment or to say, yes, this is a great idea, or what folks are thinking. So let's go ahead and start with February, which we just did, and that was Black History Month. And there was no discussion about changing that, so keep that on the list for ongoing approved. For March, we've got Women's History Month, and we have National Disabilities Development, National Disabilities Development Awareness Month, and that is an add. So that was recommended to add. And the dates are tentative. We were trying to make sure we were staying with the one per month, but there's a couple of them we're going to have to double up, just because it would be a bad idea to not. But this isn't one of them. Councilor Christopher.
It is not one of them, because you've got women's history and developmental disability.
Yeah, one per meeting. So we've got 2 in March. March 3rd, March 17th. Right. Okay, April, it got listed here, the Foster Care Awareness Month. This was a one-time that I understand, unless you guys want to add that annually. This was a proclamation that you approved last meeting. So I know it's on here, but this was a single time request.
And Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just to clarify, Foster Care Awareness Month is typically in May, but we placed it in April. I think just for spacing and the number of proclamations, but it's listed in April, but it really is a May event,
Okay,
a May Awareness Month.
right. And we could move it to May 5th, but we'd have to get, you guys is okay to have 2, because we've got a couple others. But let's go with April. We missed one, and it's pretty significant. For April, we missed Volunteer Appreciation Month. That needs to be on the list. We always do it, and the VCC then does the Volunteer Coordinating Committee, does the appreciation at the different committees, but there is a proclamation associated with that, so we do need to add that in. It's got to be on April 7th.
Well, Madam Mayor, sorry.
Yes.
There's typically an actual week, and I feel like it's typically the 3rd week in April for volunteer appreciation. We did it every year at my former program, and so we did it typically, I think, was in the 3rd week of the month. So if that is the week, I would encourage us to do the proclamation on that Monday.
So I see, Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was part of this discussion, and being that we are doing that one a month, and it can take up such a big amount of time, that as much as we'd like to celebrate, I think that when we went over all the different things that we'd like to celebrate, that I think that to get to the work of the city and the council, that one a month, that one meeting is important.
So as much as possible, I think accommodating that is what we discussed, but I want to make sure that if it is going to be, there's a couple of them later on that we might have to double up simply because they are co-occurring. So, yes, and. I think for April, though, volunteer appreciation, thank you, that's week. I think we've been doing month, though, in the proclamations. It is week. And,
It is the 3rd week in April
okay,
of each year.
and that is, this year is April 20th to 26th.
Don't we already have Liberty Health and CASA?
Yes, Ann, yes. So we've got a couple of things. We've got, right, so we've got Volunteer Appreciation Week, which we do every single year, and that is a proclamation, then it goes from there out to all of our committees. So that would need to be on April 21st. So Older Americans Month is going to, I've contacted the Salem area seniors to present it there, so it would not be in council. But we've looked at putting the National Foster Child Month, again, on the 21st to avoid the 5th, although we could bump it down. That's May. So, okay, I'm gonna stop. Can we get the list and then we'll figure out the scheduling? That'd be easier? Well, we're gonna have a couple of those. But anyway, I would like to make sure we add Volunteer Appreciation Week. Any objection? Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm firm on that one meeting.
Is there,
Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So child abuse, I know you have Child Abuse Prevention Month is either on the 7th or the 21st. Unless I'm missing something, I would flip-flop. I would do Child Abuse Prevention Month on the 7th because it's a month-long event, or Recognition Awareness Month, and then I would put volunteer recognition on that third week, which would, for us, would be the 21st of April.
And we've approved the CASA one for April 21st, unless we bump it to the 5th.
I would bump it to May because it's a May Awareness Month. It's not an April month. I would do May.
Okay, so that way we'll have a double up on May 5th.
Can it be presented to COSA?
It can be, yeah.
They've asked for it to be here because they're having their event here, and it was approved at the last meeting.
And what are the other two? Could one of them?
Okay, so are we good on April?
As long as there's one meeting.
So we've got volunteer, child abuse prevention, older Americans going to be at Salem Area Seniors. Okay, so that's April. Moving to May. Yes, Council President Starr.
Just a random off-the-wall thought. I know they requested the proclamation be done at City Council, but is there a reason why it couldn't be presented at their event, which is April 28th?
I like that.
That's a great idea.
Okay, let's see, let's ask.
Nice job, Shani.
Okay. Listen, event. Well, this is the big event. So, okay, any ads, anything else for April? Looking.
So just to be clear, we have volunteer recognition on the week and then child abuse prevention. And then we're going to do the foster care at their event, correct?
We're going to ask them about that.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
going to go to Ms. Tichenal. Was it you or Ms. Picasso?
Can you repeat the question?
You look like you had a question, so I want to make sure. Anything else for April? Okay, May. We've got 2, Asian Pacific Heritage, and we've got Jewish American Heritage Month. Rabbi's already said yes, by the way. Checked with him. And then are we moving, okay, never mind.
And you're going to do the Old American at the senior center.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Perfect.
I've contacted them. Okay, anything else for May? Okay, let me make sure I had.
What was the date for the rabbi?
He said he was available for either one of them. So both of our months. So normally we would do both of them on May 5th, and then we wouldn't have anything on May 19th because it's celebrating a whole month. Okay. All right. Yep. June. So we have Pride Month and Juneteenth. Juneteenth is June 19th, so June 16th makes sense. And Pride Month is a whole month, that's June 2nd. Did we miss anything? No. 2.
Pride Month and Juneteenth.
What's that? What?
Proclamation for
Yeah.
Oh,
Graduating. Don't we usually do something when they leave?
yes, usually that, and that's a recognition that we generally do. I know, and I do it as a proclamation, so yes. So when the youth counselor completes, I do a proclamation thanking the youth counselor for their service. It's like a plaque.
It's
I think saying thank you would be a really good idea.
I agree. I think.
So it's not a proclamation, it is a proclamation format.
It's a proclamation of appreciation.
Yes. So that can come off of the recommended list, but it is something that we do to recognize our youth counselors, similar to what we did for outgoing counselors in January. Counselor.
And can I ask, are we talking about June?
Yes.
So one of the conversations that we had with youth is that in June, once they graduate, by that time they are off on their way to their next step. So considering maybe a month prior.
Do it on on May. I think what we do is we check with the student's schedule to see when they're going to be finishing up and if they're going to be here, and then coordinate either the last one they're going to be here, that we
It
know.
would be May, I think, is what we have talked about, May being their last one, because June, they normally don't show up, but yeah.
Yeah. So we'll check with youth counselor Letty Farrar to see what's going to work for her, to make sure we say thank you for her service and the work she's done. Anything else for June? Okay. Making sure I don't have anything else there. Okay. Oops, wrong. There we go. July. So we don't have anything July or August. Nothing there. Did we miss anything for July and August that we should be considering? Okay. September. So normally, and this is where we really need to do two at the same time. So there was a recommended addition of National Suicide Prevention Month for doing the first, it would be Tuesday, because it's after Labor Day. Where two of them need to co-occur are the Constitution Week and National Hispanic Heritage Month, because they're both the same time. Constitution Week is September 17th to 23rd. They're date specific. It's not timely. And this is a request we get every single year from the local DAR. Councillor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I guess my counter to that is that there's so many, just even going through them and sitting next to Chair Jane the other day, there's so many worthy topics that we can go over to. Yes, we love highlighting them, but there's other topics that we can share and highlight. So that's why I feel strongly about including suicide awareness. And I think it's okay if we don't have Constitution Week. God bless them.
Well, we talked specifically about local organizations, and this is a local request every single year. You know, Ruby sends that in every single year. So I would be hard-pressed to tell her no.
Could you tell her August?
Why? It's not, I understand we said one, but this is the same week. You know, why have it a whole month in advance when we can highlight it when it's happening? Month.
Can I ask how long that has been happening here in Kaiser, that proclamation?
Oh my gosh. She every single year, as regular as clockwork, she's turning that in. Yep.
Okay.
And I don't want to see her at community dinner and have told her no. So,
And I would just say, like, let's give some other people a chance. If we're talking about being inclusive and people.
I'm not open to having it not be when it is. It's like telling somebody we're going to have your event at some other time. The Constitution Week is federally recognized. There's a proclamation that comes at the federal and state level, but this is a local group that's asking for it as well. And it feels respectful to me to do as they have asked year after year. And National Hispanic Heritage Month starts on the 15th. That is the start of that month, so it wouldn't make sense to do it any other time. Ms. Kunz.
Is it possible that we can make an exception, since it has been an ongoing thing, and do the two?
Yeah, we usually have done both of them at the same meeting.
It's
Council
been
President
something
Starr.
that we've
Thank you, Madam
done
Mayor.
for
Did I miss what the recommendation was from CDEC on this? Did you guys have a recommendation of whether to include it or not?
We left that one. The only recommendation is to add, if those were joint session, then we would add suicide awareness. That would be the recommendation.
Oh, I'm 100% behind the Suicide Awareness Month proclamation. I just didn't know if you guys had a.
We wanted to do both at the same night.
We could.
You wanted to do constant. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We could move. I mean, if we are hard pressed about that, I would say we could move this Suicide Awareness Month, although that is a whole month in September, so maybe not as flexible as I thought, but.
That could move to the last one in August. We don't have anything.
I
And
mean,
then bump one up.
to use your logic and reasoning on Constitution Month, why would you have Suicide Prevention Month in August if you're not willing to do Constitution Week? I mean, just the same logic, so. I'm gonna go put my support behind the Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
I'm not objecting to that. I'm saying that the two we've done on the second meeting in September for many years, both of them, because they're both timely. And they're both locally requested.
So do we have 2 scheduled for each day? So can we add one that's not as timely in with one that is timely to kind of spread that out?
The objection is to having 2, is what I'm hearing.
Kyle, can we do 2 and 1?
Wait a minute.
We're going to hit the same problem in November, so stay tuned.
I know.
Yeah, October is a big one.
I don't know. My 2 cents, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and National Hispanic Heritage Month.
I strongly object to dropping Constitution Week. It is locally requested. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to echo what Council President Starr said. Suicide Awareness Month and National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Councilor Christopher.
So what will happen is, if it's listed in September, this recommendation then is going to come to city council to vote on.
The whole list.
Yeah, and so then I believe that will be removed at that time. I don't know that there's support to continue to have 2 on that second Monday. I don't know that there's support, there might be. But if not, that's what'll happen. Would it be possible to reach out to your contact for DAR in the meantime and say we need to do this one early, which is the 3rd Monday in August? Is that perhaps a compromise?
I object to that very strongly because trying to move a federally recognized proclamation, federal, state, and having a local group ask for it for our convenience doesn't feel right. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If my recollection is correct, the part of the reason that we wanted to limit one proclamation per council meeting was because of the length of time that they take. So the 2 that you're talking about there, the suicide prevention and the Constitution Week, I wouldn't have a problem doing the Constitution Week if we read the proclamation and took a picture and went on, but if we have to have a big production about the Constitution again every year and a big production about suicide prevention, then which probably rightfully we ought to do. If we do both of those, we're a half hour, 45 minutes into the meeting before we even get started. So if we can read a proclamation and take a picture, I don't have a problem adding that in there, but if we're going to have a whole presentation like we do some months with the proclamation, then I have a hard time with it.
Ms. Picasso?
And thank you, Council Kohler, for bringing more insight on if it's a time issue, and that's what I'm hearing that it is. I think definitely limiting that time frame and sticking to that time frame would really be helpful. If you are open to trying to, but really sticking to that timeline, because if we are expanding and we're making it long, I mean, I understand time is valuable, and so I totally understand that time is an issue. So maybe how do we tighten that time up, especially just in general in each proclamation, so that way we have a good understanding of time in general.
A follow-up?
Follow-up. Thank you, Madam Mayor. For February, we had Black History Month, which was a great presentation. It lasted 20 minutes. If we have two of them that are 20 minutes long, we're limiting the amount of time that we as a council can do council work. So I'm not saying that the proclamations and the presentations aren't important. We just have to make sure how much time we're spending.
Ms. Cross?
So could we think outside the box and do the proclamations at a different time, not just necessarily doing the council meetings, but just in general? You make a proclamation for whatever month or week it is, on whatever month or day it is, or week it is, and then have the people who would like to do a presentation just come to City Hall during the week and have it recorded, so then if anybody wanted to see it, they could.
I agree with Benita that we should include the suicide prevention and Constitution Week in one at one of the council meetings, and perhaps we can talk to Ruby and instill in her the necessity of making sure that her presentation meets the council, standards to 5 minutes. I don't know whether that, but knowing Ruby and the DAR, I think that they would not like to have a separate presentation somewhere else where they're not being presented in front of the entire council. It's very important to them to be recognized at a council meeting, but I think that they would be more amenable to reduce their presentation to 5 minutes, because that's what everybody else has to do.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Parsons?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think a lot of people don't quite remember that back in the day, we very rarely had proclamations. It keeps growing and growing and growing. Not only does it keep growing, but then we keep allowing the presentations to go longer and longer. So we need to find a way to make sure we get in these important proclamations, but yet do it in a time frame that is not taking 20 minutes per proclamation. So how do we do that? I'm asking you, Mayor, how do you do that? How do we do that?
Well, but now that that rule's been passed, to communicate to whoever's presenting, and that is something that the CDEC, we each took different persons or organizations to contact and to tell them this will be a 5-minute presentation at maximum. And I've already contacted several that I was asked to do and put that in there as well. Yeah.
So
I'm going to go to Counselor Duran.
So we had that rule last meeting, and then we brought up multiple people, and it should have been 5 minutes for all of them. So we have, I mean, that should have been something that was, I mean, how'd it go wrong in the last meeting? That's just the way it goes. So we've got to, the way we limited it is saying 1 per meeting. And that was by consensus and by, you know, it was thought out, and that was the reason.
Ms. Picasso.
Well, in some instances, I speak for myself, we were not aware of like, we know they say 5 minutes, but we were not aware of that discussion, I guess. So if it was brought up to our attention and say, you strictly have 5 minutes, then we would have more control, especially if we bring someone with us. In addition, the suicide awareness, I mean, that's a crucial and important for the community. So 5 minutes enough for a presentation, but really give us an opportunity to provide resources on community website, because that is what is needed. It's not just the proclamation piece, but really provide resources, that tangible information that the community can actually take action and follow up on. So if we have the opportunity to just give us a space in the community or the Kaiser website, it would be very helpful to provide as many resources as we can, so that our community members can leverage.
And I'll come to Council President Starr here. And we do put a number of things on the website. So the recommendations for expanding community resources, I think, are very well directed to Mr. Brown and the team to make sure that rather than try to create new content, that we connect to expert content through the website like that. Absolutely. Council President Starr.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate, September 2nd is going to be the Suicide Prevention Awareness Month proclamation. And then the 15th, September 15th, is going to be both Constitution Week and National Hispanic Heritage Month. And do we need, I'm just asking the question because we've had a presentation every year. And I think this echoes Councilor Kohler's statement. Do we need another presentation on Constitution Week, or is simply reading and presenting the proclamation enough? Which I think it is, because I am pretty adamant that we have only Suicide Prevention Awareness Month on September 2nd. Like, I don't know that we recognize the epidemic and the public health crisis that is in our society.
Very painfully so, actually. But to that point, putting the 2 on the 15th and communicating with the presenters that we're going to keep it to 5 minutes, that's our rule, 5 minutes or under, and to get the word out. You want to do 5 minute total on all of them? Or presentation.
What I suggested was that we just simply read the Constitution and present it to DAR. They can accept it and do their picture on the 15th. I'm not sure that, I don't know that we need another. Pardon?
Or they come and speak.
Yeah, I agree.
I would just like to point to a couple of things, and I think I understand that, but I would also assume what you're talking about would probably take 5 minutes, which is the time that is sounding like everyone is wanting to allot. I will say it does limit people or presentations, which is what we want. But throughout all of the proclamations, right, only one person would be able then to present. I'm new to this, so I'm not sure historically with some of these proclamations if you would have multiple people present in that capacity. But so if that was an issue, I would say 10 minutes each, but otherwise 5 minutes seems to be preferred. Also, I think creating some sort of info sheet to give to whoever is presenting, because you brought up a good point. I didn't know that there was like a time limit. So I think if, the CDEC could come up with, a couple points just to make sure that everybody understands, like the 5 minutes is the expectation. Could be helpful.
Communication. Counselor Cross.
Thank you for those comments. Just follow up on that, because yes, so it's 5 minutes presentation. And good, I mean, those are lengthy, another 5 minutes, and then we're down there for another 5 minutes. So as much as you try to control that, that is a good 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. So as we're getting closer and closer to, and getting this in practice, I think it'll become easier as we move through the year. So are we good with these three at the moment? And then we'll communicate to our presenters what we have in mind. And again, nobody is required to present. They can come and receive the proclamation. We're not asking that, we require that, but we give them the opportunity to say a word and thank you and picture and all the good stuff. 2 on the 15th. Limit to 5 minutes each.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Brown.
So this will come back in front of you as a revised list, and then at that point, the council can decide whether they want to remove or move items on it.
Okay. Well, and we missed some. So if we thought September was tough, Domestic Violence Awareness Month wasn't on the original list. So that needs, we do that every year. And I'm going to double down on taking that one off. We also have, Indigenous Peoples Day, which is October 13th, so I say specific day, so that would need to be on October 6th. And then the other one that was not on the list, what was it? I don't remember, original, was Filipino American History Month. And usually I send that one in. Yeah, that one is usually not presented. That one I send, there's a local organization that asked for it, and I send that to them. So that's not a presentation. Filipino American History Month. So that is, you haven't seen it because you haven't seen it. That's the local group requests it, and they don't ask for a presentation here. I've been sending that. So unless you object to that, that's a practice we can continue. And that is a local group requests it. National Disability Employment Awareness Month, that is October. So we talked about combining that with Disability Development Month, but those are different, and there are different organizations that organize them and ask for them. Because we have local groups like Shangri-La that are engaged specifically with disability employment. So.
Just do one in March, and they can both come and get.
Yeah, I usually do it every October, that one.
It's going to go to March.
It's different. It's different.
But the report says
To combine and.
combine into March.
Right. I understand that recommendation, and it is 2 separate recognitions.
Did this come from the CDEC?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
And so the CDEC is recommending that it's combined
Yep.
into March. Okay, I say we combine it into March.
It's okay, it's combined. It goes with the.
They're combined together.
A proclamation could be written in such a way that it could encompass both.
The-
I have a question.
Have fun writing it. Councilor Christopher?
I would recommend that we eliminate Indigenous People Day proclamation because we're going to do Native American History Month in all of November. And this is a single day rather than the entire month. And there's a lot of crossover there. But I would look to CDEC to provide feedback on that. But I would rather recognize recognize Indigenous people for the entire month than one day, and then 2 months later for the whole month.
Ms. Brown?
Okay, I'm going to speak to that, and I can see where you're coming from, but we have heard from a local native who insists that there's a difference between Indigenous Peoples' Day and Native American Heritage Month. And he very emphatically said that it would be very important to keep Indigenous Peoples' Day as October 13th, that if you moved it at all, it would be tremendously upsetting to that population. So anyway, we were told very directly by a native that that is a very important date, and we don't have, I don't know, the way that it can be done can be in a very succinct manner. It doesn't have to take, a long time, but it is a very important date to the natives.
Councillor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, Vice Chair. The recommendation was Domestic Violence Awareness Month and Indigenous Peoples' Day, right?
Yep.
For November?
October?
October, sorry. What was the recommendation?
It was domestic violence.
Right, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the second one was Indigenous Peoples' Day, right? Those were the two?
Yes.
For October?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Great. That's what's on the report.
Right, but the Indigenous Peoples' Day cannot be moved to October 20th. It's after the fact. It's got to be on October 6th.
Okay. So domestic violence can go to the 20th, right?
Well, Filipino is not presented, so that would be issued. Yeah, that one is issued annually upon request.
CDEC recommended that the disability employment be combined with the March
The Development Disability
Awareness Month.
I think that's a good move.
Yep.
You don't write them. Yep. Okay,
So, did you want to expand on that?
yeah, they are two completely different awarenesses, and the disability employment is a significant issue for people with different disability limitations and types, and versus disability awareness, which is recognizing the different types of disabilities that people do encounter. So they are different.
Well, CDEC recommended to combine them, so I'm going to follow their recommendation.
That'll be fun. Okay. November. There was a couple of ones that, again, we've got a couple of more to consider. Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day was not part of the conversation, but this, over the last couple of years, has been requested by Safe Routes to School, and there are local events at our schools, and a growing number of schools that do those activities. Well, there's about 7 schools, so, I mean, we could all pick one and go to that morning. So this is November 14th is Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. It's growing. So the goal is to have it at every elementary school. So we've got that, and then we've got Native American Heritage Month. Chair Pigley and Vice Chair Lane have already said they're available whenever we need them. And then there's been a request for adding Veterans Day, which and Military Families Month, and then Small Business Saturday which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So those are the 4 in November. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay. I'm not sure we need a proclamation for Small Business Saturday. I think our shopping with our dollars is proclamation enough. But I don't know that we need a proclamation for that. And this, I guess this is more of a question for the CDEC. Do we have, would it be, when I'm looking at the calendar, is it appropriate to have it on the 17th, have that proclamation on the 17th so it's one per meeting? Or, I mean, I know we're going to have to double up somewhere, but I'm just curious which would be the best. For Native American Heritage Month in November.
Instead of the 3rd?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a, like, I'm asking honestly if there's a, what's the most appropriate? Help me out.
It's a month and not a day, so I would be okay with that.
Because is it the veterans, is it a month or is it for the day?
It's a month.
Month, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Small Business Saturday, I get those requests every year. So, and it's local, but anyway.
I don't
Also, I'm going to go to Council Parsons and then Councilor Cross.
Okay, 2 things. So, being a veteran, being the only veteran probably up here, Veterans Day is a day, but what they're talking about is all the veterans and their families getting the whole month. Right, so Small Business Saturday, I think we recognize them, but I think we don't have to do anything other than saying, shop on Small Business Saturday. And don't do a proclamation. That's what I think.
Or I could do the proclamation at Greeters.
Or you can do the proclamation at Greeters.
I like
Perfect.
that.
That works. Look at
I like
that.
it.
We just solved the problem.
Last week, I wanted to spray the whole thing with Lysol. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So follow up, just looping it around. So if that Small Business Saturday is done at Greeters, the recommendation was, Chair and Vice Chair, that we went with National Veterans and Military Families Month and the Native American Heritage Month. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to tell our local Safe Routes to School, no?
I don't think we
Is that a
discussed that
proclam-
one.
We
Yeah.
didn't even talk about that one. Is that a proclamation for Beth? I don't have a problem recognizing Beth working with our school. She works with Kennedy all the time and Kaiser Elementary.
But we didn't,
No, it wasn't brought up.
We didn't talk about that at all at our meeting either. So this was new for all of us seeing it. It was an ad.
It was an ad, and I was going through in getting ready for tonight, I went back through my list of the ones I've been doing each year, and this is one that has been specifically requested locally. And
So
that,
will Beth be presenting, or are we just presenting a proclamation?
she usually comes dressed in purple.
Yeah, at the events.
Okay. I'll try to fit, well,
December.
you all can pick a school to go to.
Sorry, can I ask, but the expectation with the Ruby Bridges is that everyone would go to an event? Is that what I'm?
We can't. People have work. It's early in the morning on November 14th at different schools. And then the schools also do instructional activities around
Yeah.
Ruby Bridges.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I see it when I am dropping kids off as well every year when they do that. So I guess just to reiterate, what was the issue with taking that one off?
Just there's 2.
No.
Right, but because we hadn't talked about it yet.
Yeah. Well, it's like domestic violence awareness, a couple of the other ones that were on that I was doing annually, that weren't on the list, the pre-approved list. They were just ones that were done every year. And this is one of those.
Domestic violence is on there.
There were a couple others that were ads.
So, Madam Mayor,
Mr. Brown?
and council,
Like small business.
when we ultimately bring you back a list and it's approved, then those will be the only ones that we do? This, how I'm
We currently have July and August open. Yes.
and you could, I guess any additional requests would go through the council for approval.
Is that something that would be appropriate for CDC to talk about making a recommendation? I don't know, since you didn't talk about it. I'm asking.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing today or tonight is let's eliminate to use better or to better use our time, so the usage of your volunteer time. But maybe what we need to think is not necessarily elimination, but more of a process and tightening the process up. So what are some ideas that we can elaborate on that we can make this process a lot smoother? Eliminating is not, if that is not the, or is not the only way. It could be one way, but it's not the only way. So if we have two proclamations, instead of coming down and taking pictures 2 times, maybe do 1 time. You explain, we're gonna have 2 proclamations. They do the 5 minutes each. We cut, mayor comes down, they take a picture with both. We cut some time there. So I think thinking of what is the process and tightening the process up first would be my thought. Because I feel like we can go on and on about what we can eliminate and what we can incorporate, but really just thinking outside of what are the other options. Like small businesses, do we give them an opportunity to advertise, or like on the website, utilizing the website resources, who is available in the community? There's like a lot of things that we can really discuss on how we can really engage the community and really honor the community for what they bring. But I think I want to invite you to not just thinking of how do we cut, but how do we improve the process so that we can maintain that ongoing cycle, because everyone matters at the end. But how do we make it so that it's within a respectful time frame?
And I'll come to Councilor Christopher in a second, but I want to go back to what Ms. Cross said about filming something. So I was thinking about safe routes to school with Ruby Bridges, filming something with Beth that can be posted to the social media, that can be there, so, and shared with the schools and so forth. So I think there's some that would work really, really well. And so I think there's some-
CDEC can also be engaged in that. Like, how do we collaborate with that and be part of it?
Good idea.
I'm sorry, Ms. Picasso.
Oh, I was thinking our community diversity engagement can also be part of that, and how do we collaborate and participate?
So we could put, working together, putting together presentations that can go on to the website, the social media. We have the YouTube channel and so forth, and they're pretty straightforward to film. Because after you said that, it was processing in my brain, and I realized that there's some opportunities here. So thank you. Councilor Christopher?
So what I was going to say is, so the city council meetings have been limited to 3 hours. And so what has happened is when there have been city council meetings when we've had 3 proclamations to do. And all 3 of those proclamations, as you said, everyone's important. How do you say to one person, you get 5 minutes, but you go ahead and do 20? And they get down there, and when the 5 minutes is up, do you want to be that person that says, your 5 minutes is up? So we don't. And so what happens is folks that have come that have business with the city council, they've only got 3 hours, and that first hour has been completely used with proclamations. So what we're trying to do is not limit celebration of these proclamations, but be respectful of the folks who have come here and taken their time, who have business with the city council. Maybe they're waiting on permits to open their businesses. Maybe they're waiting to move forward with new business with the city council. And instead, we don't get to that business because we run out of time. And that's happened. We're not very good yet at 3 hours. We're not very good at that. Hopefully, we'll get better at that. But the other thing is, just like the mayor said, Small Business Saturday, to take that to Chamber of Commerce greeters, you've got 80 people there. Now, you don't have 80 people in a city council meeting. And those 80 people are small business people. So that proclamation being read at greeters, much more meaningful than at a city council meeting, much more meaningful. So the Ruby Bridges safe routes, film that and then send it out to the schools and let the schools show that. That's such a better use of time. But also, it's so much more meaningful because it gets to the populations that they're making this proclamation for.
And I understand and I appreciate that because it does, we can, on my part, for our community diversity engagement, we would take that responsibility of making sure that it's those 5. Again, it's communication, it's process. It's not the fact that we don't want to recognize and we don't want to allow them to speak up. Right. It's the fact that we have 3 hours. I didn't even know about those 3 hours. So how do we tighten that process so that we can encourage and welcome everyone, and we can give adequate time and equal time so that way business can continue as normal and honor those small businesses that are coming in and inquiring about other things. So it's not about we don't want to honor their time to speak up for 20 minutes. It's the fact that we want to be respectful of everybody. So yeah, I wouldn't mind if we take charge of some of them, and it's not all of them, but how do we control that time? That would be something that we should be responsible if we're inviting someone.
But I mean, I think that also goes back to sending out a visual document, making sure that whoever is inviting this person for the proclamation is also reiterating that. They could also, 2-minute warning. I think also before they even give the proclamation, again, reiterating that this is 5 minutes. And I think knowing that too, that tells us, okay, we're only going to have one person, who we ask. So I think if the CDEC, can do its due diligence and work in that frame, but I also love the idea of putting a lot of these on YouTube. I mean, I think the Kaiser would love it, so.
Yep. Outstanding. Love it. So we'll, just to kind of wrap up then, finishing out the year with December with Human Rights Day. And that day is December 10th? Is that just Human Rights Day? It's a day. Okay. Okay. So as we're going through the list and pardon? That's it for December.
Just the one?
Do you have another one that you want?
Nope.
Just checking. Just checking. All right.
You're welcome, Lori.
Yep. So, okay. Double checking.
I like that one.
I'm in.
Oh, and we'll present that at the dog park. Yeah.
They're out there. They're out there.
They are not my dog. She's on the couch with her coat on because it says it's too bloody cold. All right. Thank you all very much for working through this process and help it be smoother. And more broadly. So I believe. That's next. Yeah. Do you need a break?
I need it.
Okay, let's take 5 minutes for a stretch, and then we will finish our work. 5-minute recess. Okay. He is reconvened, and so at this point, we are looking at the Appendix A, for the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. A little bit earlier, we talked about the membership, but we can get to that here in a minute and work through this document. So looking at the purpose, okay. Mr. Wood, are you leading off on this, or are we just going to walk through the document?
Madam Mayor, I really don't have a lot to say. I just kind of put a little bit of the history down. But really, it's just a matter of you folks walking through the mission, purpose, task, the CDE, and then the membership and terms. So I guess that's enough of a lead-in for you.
All right. Just wanted to make sure I didn't skip over anything that you wanted to make sure we covered tonight. So there's been a lot of time and some turnover since we had our joint work session back in September, I believe. So this is a really good opportunity to make sure we reconnect between our two groups and make sure that what we have here is reflective of the work that is moving forward into 2025. So looking back at the purpose for the CDEC, to act in an advisory capacity to Kaiser City Council and advise on action for community engagement. And these 3 points talking about listening to understand, using what is heard to create recommendations for action for increasing community engagement and communication on progress in civic processes, and then acting on the values included in the resolution for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And that's a resolution that was passed in 2020. Okay. So with that, is there anything that folks have thought about to expand upon, or is the purpose still pretty well focused on what we are moving forward with, especially for outward engagement? Okay. The tasks. Councilor Christopher, did you have something?
I was interested to hear what the current members think about this, and I think I'd want to hear from you. And so, because I know this was your baby to begin with, and I'd really like to hear what your vision was when you initiated this committee in 21?
21.
Yeah. So can you share some history or what was going on? Or because this was a brand-new committee then. This committee's only 3 years old.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I was trying to think of who was on Kohler?
Councilor Kohler.
So Kohler and Duran and you.
Right.
Yeah, so that would really, I haven't appointed anyone yet, and I wasn't going to appoint anybody till I knew what is this committee doing. And I was concerned with some of the things that Councilor Kohler said regarding, is it a DEI committee or is it a community engagement committee? And so give me the history, Mayor.
I'm going to need help with that because this was all of us doing this together. There were a lot of issues that we were all grappling with in 2019, 2020, especially for making sure that we were connecting into and with and collectively with our community. And I'm looking for, here it is. So prior to the creation of this committee, we spent a great deal of time as a council And we had work sessions that put together what was then adopted as Resolution 2020-3135, and that is the Kaiser Statement of Values, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. There was a lot of call with different organizations to put in writing, to put words to what a lot of people had questions about. Were we really including people? This was after a number of significant events nationally, as you may recall, just prior to the COVID era. And people were really wondering, where does Kaiser stand? Were we going to take put into words what our values were for including people, for recognizing the need for justice, that equity is a value that we practice on a daily basis. Notice we're using equity, not equality. And that we want to be as diverse as possible, recognizing that we are a very diverse community. When you look at the data from the community survey from the U.S. Census, we are an increasingly diverse community in many different categories that are studied through the American Community Survey. So race, gender, age group, age demographics, people with different abilities, disabilities, and so forth. There was quite a bit of diversity, and making sure that we were being mindful of how we are doing the work out of the city, that we aren't inadvertently, and I'm going to use that, I don't think we would ever intentionally, but inadvertently leaving people out or reducing opportunity for people to engage. So through all that work, many conversations, this resolution was adopted. But then you have to put it into action. And that's where the Community Diversity Engagement Committee came in. How do these words of all people shall be treated with dignity and respect go into action? And that's where the CDEC was born.
So is there purpose to, is it an engagement committee? So, and.
Yes, Diversity Engagement Committee.
Well, then, I think that we need to identify the difference. Like, what's the difference? What's the difference? This was your concern, right, Councilor Kohler? What's the difference in a DEI committee and a engagement committee? And there are differences.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not the same at all.
But we use DEI language.
We use the words equity, diversity, and inclusion. Those are important words.
But they're also DEI words.
I don't understand, well, let's stop. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are means by which that we look at our community and recognize that being equitable, that what one person needs to be able to fully engage may be different what another person needs.
Yeah.
That we recognize who we are as a community, that we are a diverse community in whatever category you want to pick, and that we want to be inclusive, intentionally inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal was to engage, connect, make sure we break down barriers between people and their ability to engage in our own civic life, in particular, the city. Making sure we don't have barriers that are in place to keep people from feeling welcome to engage with our own self-governance. I'm going to go to Ms. Picasso.
Can we hear what the concerns were?
I'm just seeking to understand. I'm new, and this committee's new. It's only 3 years old. And so I've talked with a couple of individuals because I need to make an appointment, and they said, I don't want to be on a DEI committee. And I said, I don't think it's a DEI committee. I think that a DEI committee is an internal committee where in our city organization, Adam may have a DEI committee that reviews how folks are hired, how folks are treated, resolves any concerns that different individuals have about the way that the city is run. I don't think that's this committee. I think this committee is seeking to engage all of Kaiser together and bring everyone together. And how are they doing that? And I don't know yet, so I'm just seeking to understand. I want to bring someone on. First of all, you're all women. We have no men on this committee.
So bring it.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Designed by choice.
You know, I mean, I'm gonna. And I want to know, you know, when I appoint them, I want to be able to say, this is what it looks like, and this is what the work that you're going to do. And I don't know that we've had a clear work plan. It hasn't been, I don't think it is, I think the tasks are hard to understand. They are for me.
I'm going to go to Ms. Picasso to respond. Ms. Kunz, did you want to as well? But I'm going to go Ms. Picasso first, and then we'll circle back. We have a couple of counselors that want to have questions.
Yeah, so going back, I think you mentioned that there was a concern about those two. Was it you?
No.
Oh, it was Counselor.
Let me just answer this question like what she was saying. So I was off city council when they first did this, and one of my friends was appointed to the city council. I think at the beginning, the first year or two, and Carrie, don't get me wrong here, the first year or two, there wasn't a clear direction, right? And we had a lot of attrition, right? People were leaving, people were quitting, and when that happens, it's hard to work together as a committee to get something done, right? I don't believe these 5 people here are going to let that happen, okay? But it did, and I think that's been concerns of people because that's what was going on. Like, how can you do this? Oh, he just quit. You know what I mean? And that's from the outside looking in, okay? Now I've studied a little bit of what's going on, and I see this to be more focused on the purpose, okay? And I think with a little bit more direction, you guys are going to go a long way, all right? That's just what I see. And that's why I was trying to answer your question. There were concerns, okay? But I don't know that those concerns, the only concern I'm hearing now is the DEI thing. That's the only concern I'm hearing now. Otherwise, I see you guys doing some good things, and I think you're going to do some good things, and I hope you all stick around to continue to do good things, okay? That's my saying. I'm done.
Counselor Kohler, did you want to say anything?
Sure.
Counselor Kohler?
Sure.
I saw you.
Yeah. Now I'm going to circle around, but the question Ms. Picasso had.
When as a council we first talked about all this, there was a lot of discussion about what to name it and what the purpose of the committee was. The purpose of the committee, as I understand it, was for Kaiser to be one community, not a community that has, this is this group and this is this group and this is. We didn't want division. We wanted to bring it together. That was the purpose of the committee, to bring our community together and involve everyone, regardless of what they look like, if they had blue hair or red eyes, it doesn't matter. We wanted it to be a community thing. Then there was a lot of discussion about what to name it, and one of the counselors who was on the council at that point said, if you put the name diversity in there, there's going to be people that are going to want to make that a DEI committee and spread division rather than inclusiveness and bringing together as a whole. I said this the other night, and I'll say it again. My neighborhood is extremely diverse. We have all kinds of folks that live there from all kinds of different backgrounds, beliefs and religions and everything else. But we all get together and we work together as a community. That's my vision that I'd like to see this committee do, is to bring our Kaiser together. So I was feeling that the members of this committee had lost some of that it was turning into a DEI committee and there was division that was being encouraged. So we have to have this and we have to have that. When I interviewed Jane to be on this committee, I asked her specifically, and said, this is what I'm interested in doing. You remember that? I'm interested in having our committee help bring Kaiser together and not divide them. And so when she talked to me, she said, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to bring our community together as one, not a bunch of divisions. So that's my concern, is that I want to make sure our focus is right. When I said I wanted to pause the committee, I didn't say, hey, we want to get rid of this committee. I've never said I want to get rid of this committee. I just want to make sure our focus is in the right place.
Can I ask, are there any specific examples, I guess, of diversity having been an issue with any of the events that the CDEC has put on in the past? Has there been any reported incidences or anything?
We haven't put, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
We haven't put any on except for we helped with the Kaiser 40th birthday. We provided input for the strategic plan, the neighborhood traffic management plan. I don't know about anybody else on here, but I've been pretty involved with the climate-friendly, equitable communities. Most of us attend other neighborhood association meetings and collaborate with them. And we've done some others.
I think I also want to bring it back to when this was originally created, the purpose was to act in an advisory capacity. So not necessarily to put on any type of event, but to simply ensure that the committees, all committees, are, while they are putting on events and opportunities, also reflecting an inclusive and diverse opportunity for others to engage in. And I think you bring up a great example that your neighborhood sounds very diverse, right? There's a variety of people there, and it sounds like you guys have, figured out a way to work together in, whatever capacity that looks like. So, when I look at this, it's clear to me what this committee intends to do. I think really what needs to be defined are the metrics in which we make sure that we can establish that we are successful, right? An objective way to measure that. I think that's important. And, also, like, a couple of words jump out to me here. Collaboration, recommending, helping develop metrics and yearly reports, assist in identifying leaders and build leadership capacity. So, again, I think that's a great foundation. It just needs to be expanded on a little bit. Yeah.
I was going to go to Ms. Kunz, and then we'll circle back around. Did you have something additional, Tammy?
So I am pretty involved in most things Kaiser, to put it politely. And for the last 3 months, at most of the groups and meetings I've attended, I've asked a ton of questions on what they're looking for. Are we meeting the mark? Are we meeting the need for the community? And I'll give a copy of this to Melissa, or I might already have. But some of the things that we're already doing, speaking for myself, and I know Carrie's doing it because I see Carrie all over town and she doesn't even know I'm there. But increased awareness on issues. Empowerment with different agencies and groups that we attend. Building relationships and trust. And I can elaborate, but I'm just going to submit this to make life easy for all of you and to be timely. Improve problem solving. That's one of the ones I hear about the most, is improved problem solving, because they can come to each of us. I know people have talked to each and every one of us out in the community, speaking for myself and Carrie, most of you probably. They're not afraid to say, this is what we need. How can we do things better? How can they communicate with us more? I've invited several of them to share with us over the last couple of years, right, Shani? Civic participation. I attend meetings, I ask questions, I get involved. Social and change and advocacy. I'm not going to elaborate on that because y'all know I'm a loudmouth already. Authenticity. I am who I am all the time. Transparency. Some of the things that people have said they want over the last few months are public forums and meetings, surveys and questionnaires so that we can collect the data that means what they want. Focus group, workshops, volunteer programs, community events and festivals. All of you on City Council know Jackie and I tackled a big chunk of that this past year with the association. It is a timely and costly process, one that I am not really equipped to take on with a neighborhood association. It really needs to be something that the CDEC help coordinate and help do so that we're not missing the mark. But engage. I engage with everybody I talk to. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to invite people to come and join us. If I don't know something, I send them to Mayor Clark or to the city or to whoever I know has the answer. Because I'm not afraid to say, I just don't know.
Ms. Brown.
Okay, I believe that I'm one of the longest serving members of this committee. And one of the reasons why I have stayed on this committee for as long as I have is because I want this committee to continue and not to die because of external viewpoints, of external incorrect ideas of what we are. When I started being a member of this committee, it's because somebody that was appointed to this committee was not attending regularly, and that's one of the things that have happened with this committee, like Councilor Parsons said. So when you have a lot of people in and out, you don't have a lot of consistency. So I learned from starting a little bit late what this committee is all about. And 3 years ago, the acronym DEI was not around. That acronym is a new one. So I just want to say that we did not start out as a DEI committee. And the committee that I was part of worked really, really hard, and I think Shani was on that committee, Councilor Starr, to say it officially, and Councilor Reed was a member of that committee, and we spent lots of hours coming up with a mission statement, which I read at the last council meeting because that's our guiding principle. And I look at that mission statement every time I come to a CDEC meeting because mission statements are important, you know. And one of the last things that we were tasked to do is to come up with a working definition of diversity, inclusion, equity, and justice. And those are available to all of you to review and to ask us for feedback, and we're very willing to listen to your opinion about what we have come up with in regards to our definitions. Just a minute. And we also worked very hard for several months. We wanted transparency is my big thing. And so for a while there, for several months, we debated whether we wanted to have the VCC choose our membership. The VCC did not want to do that, so we were kind of stuck. And then, but we have like 3 pages of questions and metrics. And so at the last CDEC committee meeting, I said, let's simplify this. This is way too much stuff, you know. If we're going to go back to have each counselor nominate someone for the committee, and I'm not opposed to that, but I would like to have some transparency and a metric that each one of you guys can use so that there are no misconceptions about what this committee is about. Because Counselor Christopher said that somebody that she talked to said, well, this is a DEI committee. And I think at the last council meeting, I was almost jumping out of my seat because I kept hearing that that acronym, and I wanted to shout it out and say, this is not a DEI committee, but we are committed to give the council advice and direction. Now, I know that Councilor Kohler said we haven't had any direction for a couple of years. And so I'm willing to set aside some of that misconception or whatever it is that is objections or obstacles that are making us not move forward. I would like to have us truly be an advisory committee to you guys. And I said at the last council meeting that I want to be a collaborative committee with you guys. We do not want antagonism. I do not like conflict. You know, I want to work together. And like Johnny Lake said at the end of his little presentation, he said, we are different, but we are more alike than we are different. And I try and find that with every single person that I meet, you know, because I know that I am different from each one of you, but I also know that I can find commonalities with each one of you, and that's what makes me want to be your friend, your neighbor, whatever, you know, I think that we can work together. And so whatever we decide tonight, I want it to be a collaborative decision. That's it.
Thank you. Councilor Christopher has a question?
Just a little bit of feedback. So as a Citizens Advisory Committee, that's what you are. I mean, you advise the city council. So when you said you created a mission statement, so then you recommended that to the city council for adoption?
I think so. Yeah, that happened.
Did that happen?
That happened a couple years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it did.
And so, and the definitions, those were recommendations to the city council?
Well, we just did that.
Oh, you're working on those?
No,
We just did
We
that.
were asked for that, so we provided that.
Yeah.
and those were just finalized Thursday night.
Yes, those were just finalized Thursday.
Who asked for that?
We did. A long time ago. Long time ago. It's just
So-
taken a while. Ms.
So
Titchell?
Tim Woods, he had drafted this proposal, and then it was sent out to us at the first meeting in July for us to take a look at, to expand on, but most importantly, to get community feedback. And that's exactly what we did. We got diverse community feedback to look at the definitions and weigh them against other experiences. We brought them back, we all discussed them, and we all agreed that they fit and mirror what the city of Kaiser is and strives to be. So that's how we got that. And
So will they be coming to us for adoption? Correct. Okay.
That happened at the last meeting last week. So
I
So,
think
I guess my-
originally it started with the VCC asking for the definitions when we gave them the questions
it
and the
came
matrix.
from VCC,
When we wanted them to be
And to
selecting the
clarify
members.
with city council.
And so then they wanted,
that
they
everything
wanted
aligned.
definitions and whatnot, and then decided they didn't want to do it.
From VCC?
It was the joint work session. So,
So,
a lot of that.
Yeah, as a
Follow-up?
citizen, thank you. As a citizen advisory committee, I mean, everything, your power is recommendations. So you go out into the community or you work with alternate groups, and then you bring your recommendations to city council on a myriad of subjects. And that, I just haven't seen a lot of I mean, I'm new, so I have not seen a lot of recommendations for different things. But I would say in the Appendix A, under the purpose, we've done the same thing with the engagement committee that we did with bicycles, I think. There's three things. The purpose is to act in an advisory capacity of the Kaiser City Council and to advise on action for community engagement. Like period. Like, that's your purpose, right? But yet it goes on, listen to understand, Kaiser wants to let everyone know we're included. Using what is heard to create recommendations for plans, that's not the purpose. That, again, goes into, here's the tasks, just like we did with bicycles. And then acting on the values included in the resolution for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. I mean, I go back to the purpose. The purpose is to act in an advisory capacity of the Kaiser City Council and to advise on action for community engagement. And so here's another word. So the same person that said it's a DEI committee said, and what does engagement mean? What's the definition of that? Well, so what is? What is that? What is your definition for engagement?
Yeah, so part of that engagement portion in providing, or this committee, is really adding that lens of anything that you bring forward or anything that the community is affected by should be having a lens of the community diversity engagement. So we want to collaborate, and I think that Carrie brought it perfectly fine. It's like collaboration with you in providing that lens of equity, an equity lens, to anything that is going to affect the community or is moving forward with the community. That's how you engage them, in providing a place where everyone has a voice and they have an opinion. And the way we do that is making sure that anything that gets put forward meets that definition, that it's welcoming and it's not just a one-sided. And I think we go back to, I think of the conversation or the words of Councilor Kohler, where he said, my community is very diverse and we get along and we just collaborate together, right? But in that collaboration, that means that everyone is open to that collaboration. And if someone is not willing to, right, and does not want to engage, then they would not be they wouldn't feel, or if you were that one person who doesn't want the transparency or want to participate and engage in the community, that would not feel so welcoming for someone to attend. So I think adding that lens of equity is important. In every sense of the way, everything that we do, it affects the whole community, the entire Kaiser community.
I'm going to follow up with this example, if I may, and then Council President Starr has been patient, and then I'll come back to Councilor Cross. For example, when we were doing the neighborhood traffic management program, we sent the draft through the Community Diversity Engagement Committee to take another look at that from the lens of user and user. Is it user-friendly? Is it actually engaging with getting feedback from people on neighborhood traffic management? And then they gave feedback to the Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee, who was working on that update, so that they could incorporate those changes in. So that was a collaboration between cities, between committees, where they actually helped another committee in their work. That's just one example of where we've been able to engage in that. Council President Starr, you've had a comment. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One thing that has not been commented on, but I think in my time on, which I think was 3 years on the committee, I felt like was one of the, probably the unsung work product that came out of the committee was an engagement and decision-making framework that I think staff uses regularly when looking at how do they communicate? Like what is it that, what is the issue, right? And then how is that get, they use that framework to decide how to communicate that out to the various groups within the city of Kaiser. And I have to wonder, I think that that's probably been one of the biggest unsung work products coming out of the committee. It might not be a tangible that we see or we use, doesn't mean we can't use it on a regular basis, but it is something that is utilized regularly by staff. And so I just want to make sure when we, when there are statements like I haven't seen what, and things that have come out of the committee, there are really Herculean tasks that have come out of the committee and projects that we don't see because we don't use them every day, but they are being used by staff that serves the entire community of Kaiser.
Thank you so much for highlighting that. And Mr. Wood just sent me a copy of that framework. I asked him to do that because I hadn't had a chance to dive into it. And I would absolutely agree. This was something that was very, very important as we were coming out of COVID, and actually through COVID, finding new ways to communicate, making sure we're using all the technology that had emerged. I mean, how many of us Zoomed in 2019, right? But also using our social media more effectively, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our website, input on that, accessibility. So thank you for highlighting that. You are absolutely correct.
And I don't know that people, if you weren't involved in the hands-on work of that framework, I mean, that is a pretty, again, Herculean task to come out of a committee that met once a month.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm going to go to Councilor Cross, and then I'm going to go to Ms. Brown.
And then over here.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sitting here when we had our meeting the other night. Ray White, that lives in Kaiser, that's an equity and inclusion strategist here in town, he just did a mock-up, and I was just reading his purpose and overview, and it says their role in CDEC and their role in supporting the city and city council. It appears that they stand in an advisory role to speak into equity and belonging initiatives derived from the staff's strategic plans. That to me sounds a lot clear, like more clear than a couple of these. Like it says, it's like on the first page, Chair and Ms. Picasso and Carrie. So that to me just sounds pretty clean to me. And there is, these efforts lead to building a stronger bond with Kaiser's historically underrepresented, excluded individuals, increase community connections, and strengthen access related to city resources. And then ending structured collaboration between council, city staff, committee, and greater community. I mean, those are pretty clean what we have been talking about. I really I know that people are using different words. I hear belonging a lot, representation, access. Diversity to me, in my opinion, seems it's divide. So I'd love something that feels more huggy-feely. So I like whatever that community engagement, belonging, so it doesn't sour some people, and that maybe we can start there. And there you go. That's my 2 cents.
Well, first of all, thank you for getting this from Ray White, and it was handed out at the end of the meeting, and I would love to be able to have the committee pick up with this in the next meeting to discuss what this looks like and the work plan that comes out of that. The other thing that was also in terms of work plan, was begun at that meeting was to talk about the engagement in a very orderly and purposeful manner with all the other committees. So each member took a committee that they're going to follow the agendas to see if there's that place, opportunity for advising, encouraging, and providing opportunity for diversifying that engagement. So that is also was adopted at the end of the meeting last week. I'm going to go to Ms. Brown, and then Ms. Cross. Oh, and then over here? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Starr, for giving the committee some credit for some of the things that we have tried very hard to accomplish. And you are so correct about how some of the things that we do are so intangible and they're not published out there in the Kaiser Times or on Facebook. And I just want to give one example of engagement. And I'm going to talk about Councilor Kohler, because it has to do with a small item that happened way back then. A lot of you know that I am a committee member of the Kaiser Community Dinner. And so at the beginning of that committee, we were tasked to reach out to the community and invite churches to be part of that community dinner. And I had known Councilor Kohler as a friend for a long time. And one of the diversity items is religion. And I knew that the Church of Latter-day Saints had always been kind of left on the sidelines, and they were never quite involved with the rest of the churches in the community. So I reached out to my friend Dan, and I said, hey, would you like to come and join us and be part of the Kaiser Community Dinner? And guess what? He is one of our leaders now. But I bet you that he doesn't even know that that is one of the reasons why I reached out to Councilor Kohler, because I felt like that his church community was not being recognized and was not being invited to be a member of the church community in Kaiser. So that's just one small way that each one of us does our own reaching out in the community. And he's one of our leaders now. Tries to be a boss sometimes.
Eventually, you'll figure out how to do the dishes.
Maybe.
Did you want to respond, or I think we were over here. Ms. Cross, did you have something?
I was just going to say that we talk about engagement, right? Maybe we need a definition from you guys as the counselors on what that engagement is supposed to look like, instead of us just having an idea of, oh, do we just reach out? Do we attend things? How are we supposed to do all of this in the hour that we are given each month?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really fair question, because I can go back to what was being discussed back in 19 and 20 in terms of the need for engagement, people feeling equipped, empowered, and able to engage with being part of the decision-making in our own community. So that was a lot of it, but I will go to others as well. I'll go to, Ms. Picasso, thank you for reminding me. And then Ms. Tichnell, and then we'll circle around.
Yeah, and I think I want to thank you for putting this session together, because I've been here for almost 2 years, and this is the first time that we actually said, let's sit together and work this out. In most instances, we talk about, or we hear how the comments of you've had very little success. What you don't hear is that every session that we have, we are discussing how do we overcome these barriers that are being brought forward to us. No solution, but more questions. And so we a lot of the work is really just clearing information more than anything. And it almost feels like that's how we have been kept busy. We clear something up, something else comes up. So the work, and then it's questioned, what is it that you're doing? We're answering all the questions and clearing things up. And that is the end result. So there's a lot of work being done that is not, have not come to fruition because, again, a lot of the time has been spent on answering, rebuttaling information or bringing information back to you. So I appreciate this session because this is going to clear a lot of that information of what we should be doing and what we should be focusing instead of that battle of, okay, now define that and come back. And then now that you define that, let me give you something else and now define that and come back. So when is the work going to get done? If we just spend that whole time trying to find definition and try to find the work, I would appreciate, and I am very thankful again for having this session because it gives us a sense of beginning, of working together, and really not just a one-way conversation that we are having to resolve. It's more like both of us joined in a conversation where we both can actually take tasks and actions and come together so that we can actually see the difference and impact in the community in a bigger lens, in a bigger way.
Thank you. Ms. Ditchnell?
Yeah, I wanted to commend Sarita for getting the advice from Ray White. I thought that document was really helpful and again offered an objective measure that we can already look to that the CDEC has fulfilled in the additional proclamations that we've brought forth. And, speaking for myself, I already know who I'm going to engage for the proclamations that I'm going to support. I'm very involved with the school district. And so I think that's just one example how already the CDEC has done some action. Just a couple of clarification issues. So there are 2 seats that are still available, is that correct?
Yes. So Councilor Christopher has not appointed, and then according to the CDEC resolution, I am supposed to appoint the youth member.
Okay. So when can those 2 seats be expected to be filled?
I'm working on mine.
I wanted to have this session, and I want to be open and transparent when you're talking with someone and saying, would you give me 2 years of your life to work on a committee? I wanted to be able to clearly articulate what they were going to be doing on that committee. So I have talked with 3 individuals, but I'm pretty much settled that I'm going to give you guys a man. Yeah. Because I think we need that. I think men and women think differently. And I think that would be a good addition to the folks that we already have on the committee. If I can continue.
Follow up?
You were, let's see, who asked? Carrie.
Ms. Brown did, yes.
What do I want to see? Let me read. Aims to enhance public participation in government decision-making, improve communication between officials and residents, ensure transparency and civic involvement. That's really what I wanted. I want to be able to say that to my person that I'm going to appoint. I want to be able to say, this is what you're working on, focusing on outreach, organizing a public forum, and that would mean you would come to City Council and say, we have an idea. Here's an idea for a forum to outreach to our community, and we want your support, and it's going to take some money, and here's what it's going to cost, and maybe we have it in the living room. Not unlike Councilor Starr's ideas of town hall. I could easily see this committee being, organizing one of the town halls, just to talk about whatever, that's a much more informal, the dais can be intimidating, and this room can be intimidating. In fact, I think engagement is a big $5 word. I'd rather see this committee called something like the Kaiser Resident Outreach Committee. I mean, it just sounds more welcoming to say, we're just outreaching to you. That's why I said, I was asked that question. What's the difference of engagement? I mean, what's the definition? And I said, focusing on outreach, we want to bring everybody to the table. I can't speak for the other counselors, but I like making decisions by committee. I like that. I like having lots of voices at the table. I like having dissenting voices at the table, because if you can understand their position, you get a better work product. And so that would be my ask of you, is to create feedback mechanisms, develop online engagement platforms, organize a town hall, engage residents, neighborhood associations. You said, and you're doing some of this. And I did not know about this framework. And so I appreciate that work. And like I said, I'm new here, so I'm learning about what this committee did. And I have not made my appointment because I didn't know, and I didn't feel comfortable that I could defend it. That's really what it amounts to. But I can have someone by your next meeting.
Yeah. I was going to go to Counselor Duran.
Before he dies.
Pretty much, yeah.
Thanks. So I was one of the original counselors when we developed this, and my full intention was, with the outreach, was to get out in the community and bring people in that aren't interested in coming to civic events and find a way to get them involved. We heard a lot of people say that people from different communities weren't comfortable coming here to meet with us. So my intention was to get out in the community, find a space that we could reach them that they would be comfortable with. And in the last meeting that we had with you guys, we were told that you guys had tried, but staff said you couldn't. So that's something I want to talk about. What was the reason? Why couldn't we meet at a church or the the Grange or things like that? Why can't we get out and meet the community in other places? We need to discuss that. What is the reasoning? What can and can't we do to make that happen? Because that was a big part 4 years ago of the reasoning that I thought this was a good idea to do this community. So I would definitely like to spend a little bit of time and talk about that.
Ms. Cons?
So part of why we weren't able to do some of that is public meeting laws. But one way we can combat that is when there is a community event, host a community engagement table. I mean, we all attend. I saw Shani and Marlene at almost every event this summer at this building that took place. Mayor Clark was here. Sarita, I saw Dan. Most of us were here. Lori was here. We can host a table and seek information, share information, and meet them where they're at. It's just hosting meetings would fall on Mr. Lawyer over here, telling us what we can and can't do. Town halls. Town halls and that kind of thing, that's his department, not mine.
Okay, follow up?
My thinking on that is a good idea to host tables and stuff, but you're still getting the same people that already come here. They come for those events. So if we can outreach to the people that don't typically come here, find a way to reach them and get them interested in, and telling them that, their voice matters. We just need to hear it.
So that means we host a table at Kaiser Fest. They come from everywhere. They're not just Kaiser. The neighborhood associations have done that.
You mean a booth?
Yeah, the city gets a booth with
Used to
the
always have a booth.
chamber.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do,
But
but
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And if you
it's
brought that to
another
us with the
option, it's
cost-
another alternative. When there's things going on with the chamber, maybe we reach out and do something with the chamber. Utilize those partnerships that we have. I attend Kaiser United, and when I introduce myself, I'm Tammy Kunz from Kaiser Community Diverse Engagement Committee, as well as the Neighborhood Association. They're not afraid to say, hey, how do I get a neighborhood family council at my school? Because they know I'm involved. We now have one getting ready to start at Whittle. Thank you.
That is awesome news. Good. So what I'm hearing is in the conversations in the work plan for 25 is where are the opportunities in the community to do the outreach, to show up. But also, we have a number of town halls that we have discussed and to use, get advice from the Community Diversity Engagement Committee on how do we structure the town halls on these very important issues that we've already identified that we want to do this year. That's where we can use the framework and the collective experience and wisdom of the people around this table to put together those town halls that are already on our list. And we have a pretty good list already started, folks. Just be careful adding too many more right now. Just saying. Follow up?
One more quick thing. Could you consider alternative names for the committee? And maybe I'm out to lunch on this, but I think using the word diversity in the title rather than just community outreach or resident outreach, or what were the words you used? I really liked the words you used, Sarita.
Get back to my handy dandy note.
That the gentleman gave you?
Well, belonging is one that I've been hearing, sorry. Belonging is one that I've been hearing a lot. Representation, access.
Access. I mean, I would just ask is, I think, like I said, engagement is a $5 word.
Yeah.
That's a big word. Is there a better title? I don't know.
May we ask the committee to have that conversation
That's what I'm asking.
and come back with a recommendation?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes, I believe, based on your track record, I know we can. Thank you. I'm going to. Yep. So consider that one of the asks, as well as the opportunities within the community for events coming up this year. I like the idea of tabling once again at Kaiser Fest. We used to have a table there, and that fell away. Again, a number of things didn't come back after the COVID shutdown. So some things have, some things are different, and it's worth having a conversation about what that looks like going forward.
That's a good idea, Tammy.
So I'm going to go to Ms. Tichenor, and then I'm going to continue down for final comments.
I'm just going to bring this up one more time, just creating an objective analysis to make sure that we are meeting the expectations so that moving forward, we have a very clearly defined, measurable way that we can see success so that there's not further questions as to what this council is doing. That way, when you are talking with your friends about wanting to join, you're able to clearly define what that looks like. I will say also just one more note about that. Having the VCC vote on who is on this committee, to me, seems more equitable. It's more streamlined, especially if we have those two questions that we ask every single person. I think it's again, more objective way of vetting somebody and their, just how well they'll be, because that also allows a larger community or a larger group of people to talk about that appointment rather than just one person.
Thank you. I'm going to continue. Council President Starr, final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this has been really a really fruitful conversation and dialogue between the committee and the council. And I made a note here. I was passing a note during the meeting where I said, so now I'm going to share that I think this kind of a joint work session or this kind of a conversation should probably happen 3 to 4 times a year between this committee and the council. So, so whoever the calendaring magicians are, I don't know how we make that happen, but that's my just from sitting here and listening and observing, and just the dialogue and the, well, I thought this, or when we started this, I think it keeps the conversations moving forward. And to Ms. Tichnell's point, I think that the joint meetings will help with that clear and objective process, right? And making sure that we're being clear in what we're asking of you, and you're feeling confident that you're doing what we thought, or what we maybe thought we asked you, but we didn't ask, whatever, just keeping that conversation going. So that would be my 2 cents, 3 to 4 times a year.
So I'm thinking that if we target June for the next one, because it's after budget and some things will settle down, and then we can figure from there. So maybe take it one at a time. Is everybody willing to look at June for our next connection time? Sure. Does that sound good? Councilor Cross, final thoughts?
Sorry, I'm getting tired. I was just thinking, are we going to do it in July and give us all a proclamation? Sorry, I'm getting tired. It's 3 hours.
Can I just really say, really quick though, Sarita, that document that you got from Ray, I'm wondering if it did spell out like quarterly reviews or something. So I guess I'm wondering, like, in what capacity are we able to engage his expertise on this? Because I wonder if that outline would be helpful as a guide.
Yeah, when I was looking at it, I was thinking the same thing, because he has so many tangibles in there that I definitely, if you all decide, I can have him come in, and if he can, do some public comment and see what that looks like, and if we want to explore that, to take it to the council.
So if he's available for the next CDEC meeting to have that conversation with Mr. White?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Right, we'll find out what that will look like.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan.
Yes, and I think I can bring that to the council for compensation. But I love that he's here in town.
Yep. Thank you for making that connection. Councilor Kohler, final thoughts?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I took quite a bit of heat from some people when I put on the agenda, or when I wanted to put on the agenda, that we pause and get some direction. But I think that's kind of what we needed. We needed some direction. We needed to figure out where we were. I felt like that there was just enough stuff going on that really wasn't moving you forward where you wanted to be, that we just needed that. So that was the purpose of that, was to try to do something like this. And look where we've gotten. One of the things that made me stop and consider that we needed to do that was a number of people that I had appointed to the committee that didn't feel welcome on the committee, that were kind of, the question was, well, why are you here? You're a white guy and you'll never understand. And so there was some turnover. But I remember one of the times when our committees met together, the council and the committee met together, and there was a gentleman that didn't like when I said this is my version of my vision of the community, And he said, well, young man, you'll never understand because you're not black. My thought at that point was, why are we here then? Why are we going to do that if we're never going to understand? So if we can understand each other's position and where we are and come together as a community, we can accomplish great things. But we have to be able to work together.
Councilor Parsons.
I just want to say thank you to the committee on such short notice to meet with us, because I think this has been very fruitful, okay? And it's opened my eyes to understand, because like I said, I haven't been around and just kind of hearing stuff. So thank you for doing that, and would love to sit in on one of your meetings and see what you guys do. And can't wait for our next session. Thank you.
Okay. So wrapping up, I know it's 9 o'clock. We've had a very fruitful conversation. The way I understand things set now, as far as the committee makeup, is that what the council has, the majority of council wants to make this the 2-year appointments based on the council terms. One last thing is whether, I know. Student. Well, what am I supposed to do? So according to one, I'm supposed to appoint the youth. According to the other, I'm supposed to appoint a member, and that may not be one and the same. So my question is, to what we put a pin in, do we want the committee to be 7 or 8? So will it be 7 members plus a youth, or am I still going to be the one appointing the youth?
Well, tell me about the youth. You said that was deliberate. Give me that background.
I'm going to go to Mr. Lindsay, I'll come back.
Thank you. I think one of my underlying assumptions when you said try to make it like the VCC is that the VCC consists of 7 voting members, and then the youth member is a non-voting youth liaison.
Right. That's what I wanted to hear.
Well, and so that, and maybe that was the bigger discussion that we've got past 9, and I'm sorry to bring it up.
Sorry,
But I mean, that was, so I think the resolution that we created with the new Appendix A matched this VCC language the last time, and then we set it over for this conversation. So just so you know, that would have been the answer. If you give me a different answer, I will gladly amend it.
So the purpose of having a youth was very, very intentional, to give them a voice at the table in decision-making, and it was the decision of the council unanimously to make sure that we had a youth member, and since we were appointing for a term, not to match the city council term, but that when either 1, 2, or 3 years had elapsed, whoever was sitting in that position would then appoint. At least I was hoping eventually it would go to the VCC, but that is not today's not that day. But it was intentional to make sure that our youth had a voice, a decision-making voice in this committee as part of our diversity, to make sure we engage with the youth voice. So that's why that is. So again.
So here's my follow-up. So they're even more transient than we are. I mean, we're transient in terms of 2-year and 4-year, but a youth is passing through high school usually. So how about if we did something, if we had 7 members, 7 adult members, and the 8th member would be a 1-year appointment, like our city councilor is, and it would be a voting member.
So here's the thing. Do you know the youth member served all 3 years? She was one of the ones that was from the beginning and had the longest term.
That's rare.
Well, that's how it turned out. So, yeah, she committed to that and saw it all the way through. So that's why I'm pushing back a little bit, because high turnover really impacts the work of this committee, because you need that consistency. You've got to have some continuity. So what I'm going to ask that we bring back for consideration is that we expand to 8. 7
Fine.
plus youth. Any objection to having that conversation?
No.
I think we can, I'm happy to have the conversation. I think I'd want to understand how the 7, how the 8th or the youth is chosen.
I think that's a great conversation to have, because right now they're supposed to submit a letter to me. I interview and make that selection, because that's been,
I wonder too if if we would be able to work with McNary High School and their youth and law class. Like, could we work something out with the teacher and make it some sort of collaborative assignment? I don't know. I'm just
I'm
like
loving that.
throwing that out there.
Here's something, why don't you let, well, here's just another idea. Why don't you let the committee pick the youth?
I think we have a VCC. I think they would probably be able to do the interviews like they do for our youth
They don't
counselor.
want to do it on this committee.
The youth council, well, let's have the conversation. It's past 9 o'clock, but let's bring that back and we'll conclude that part of the process. And then for the next council meeting to affirm the appointees so this committee can keep doing their work. Okay? All right. And then we will schedule for June for our next meeting. And do we have executive session? We have executive session. Lucky us. Yeah. All right. All right. So it is 9:07. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.
I'm so tired. Wow.